844-500-4242. That is the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show if you'd like to join us here this afternoon, every weekday afternoon. And there's always new developments in the Spygate scandal that's unfolding in Washington. And we like to check in with Joe DiGenova, the former U.S. attorney. You see him on TV often talking about this. Joe, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Howie, I'm delighted. Let me apologize first by telling you that I'm sitting at the JetBlue bar at Fort Lauderdale International Airport with something that's akin to the Star Wars bar in terms of the attendees. So there might be a little background noise, but I'm drinking Macallan's 15-year-old and scotch and soda on the rocks. So let's have at it.
Well, that's good. That's good, and you're in a warm place, unlike New England where we are. It's it's a nice October afternoon here in June.
It's 91 here, and Eduardo and Carlos are making announcements in the background.
I wish I were there. Anyway, Joe, where do we stand now? You read my story today. I tried to lay it out. We're getting closer and closer to a smoking gun on Robert Mueller.
What a piece. What a piece. I gave a speech today at the Heritage Foundation down here in Fort Lauderdale, and I spent a great deal of time talking about your article along with Bill McGurk's piece in the Wall Street Journal today. I told people they had to read two things today, your daily column piece and Bill McGurk's piece. And your piece was stunning. And I must say, if anybody has an ounce of brain and truly, truly cares about the state of the FBI, but also the special counsel, I don't know how the guy shows up for work every day. I just don't know.
Yeah, I think, I've written earlier stories about him in the past, and I've called the special counsel's office, and they've never even bothered to respond. This time they at least said no comment on it after I sent them the actual damning letter from 2002 where they're saying just because we have all this evidence showing they were framed doesn't mean this guy should get a pardon. I mean, what were they thinking of?
Well, what you see is part of a problem that still exists at the Department of Justice, and it's people like Bob Mueller and Rod Rosenstein who are two peas in a pod. You see, they don't believe that the Justice Department can never do anything wrong. And even if it does, they believe that wrong never equals the wrong that anybody else in society commits. It's a distressing problem. It stays there. My speech today was about, if you don't clean this mess up at the Department of Justice and the FBI, you are going to continue to see things like this. This is a very dangerous situation. These are two serious issues. The type of person that you make a special counsel, Mueller has all the right credentials and none of the proper character. There is a piece of tape floating around. I don't know if you've seen it, where he's at the Justice Department and he's ready to stand up and give a speech to all these lawyers and FBI agents. He's in a white shirt. His sleeves are rolled up. He gets to the podium. He says, and there's somebody just left the podium, and he says, that guy likes to lock people up. He says, I like to lock people up too. If a prosecutor says that, you know what? He doesn't have a soul, and he doesn't have the character and integrity necessary to be a prosecutor. That, even if that was a joke, that's a joke you never make as a prosecutor.
Well, I would like to see that tape. That's really amazing. The president now, he tweeted out this morning what's going on with the inspector general, and and again, I think all of us are asking that question. At what point, Joe, does he just get fed up and just release all these documents? I mean, this thing that they couldn't release the exculpatory evidence on these four guys that they framed in 1965 on the grounds of national security. They're still using that lame excuse today.
Well, this is what happens when congressional oversight is flawed. I must say, I think that the House Republicans are doing the best they can. They're doing a great job. They're fighting. It really remains to be seen whether or not they're going to hold anybody in contempt. The Senate is a joke. The Senate Republicans ought to all go home, even during the August recess that McConnell just scheduled. The oversight in the Senate, except for Chuck Grassley, is an absolute disgrace. But what you have is an institutional inertia that fights accountability and has led to a kind of institutional corruption that led to the spying on the Trump campaign. These people did this because they knew they could get away with it. It's a culture there. That place has to be torn down brick by brick. It's going to take a national commission, and I'm going to recommend to the president that he assign 3 people to start a commission to overhaul the Department of Justice. and it needs to include only people who have not been there in years, who've been defense attorneys, and who understand the corruption that has gotten inside the FBI and the DOJ. That place, both of those places, the FBI and the DOJ, are a national disgrace.
Now it appears, Joe DiGenova, that this spying may have begun as early as December of 2015. Which means that everything we've been told, whether they're under oath or they're on all these TV shows, has been a lie.
I don't think there's any doubt that the spying began in 2015 as part of a scheme to undercut all the operations of the Republican Party and the presidential candidate, whoever that candidate was going to be, but especially Trump. This is the greatest political scandal in American history. And even though the mainstream media mocks people like me and others who believe, because of all the available evidence, that there was a plot to exonerate Hillary Clinton and a plot to then, if she didn't win, frame Donald Trump, the evidence is now inescapable and unassailable. And it's going to take some very strong-willed people to make this get to the final conclusion, which is holding all these people accountable. After watching John Brennan and James Clapper for the last 3 weeks make a mockery of the great institutions that they serve, the CIA in particular, I don't know how anybody could think that John Brennan wasn't at the head of this conspiracy.
What's next? What happens next? What about the Inspector General's report? Are you concerned about how good it's going to be? Do you think it's being watered down even as we speak?
You know what? I think people are filing comments, which they're allowed to do. He has to circulate this report after he drafts it to all the people that are talked about in the report, and they have the legal right to submit comments, which he publishes. Doesn't necessarily going to change his conclusions. I have faith in Mike Horowitz. Everything he's done thus far has been good. I mean, he's going to have to prove to me that he's not honest. If he pulls punches on the Hillary Clinton investigation, then I'll start to have concerns. Of course, it won't concern Rod Rosenstein, who's the father of this mess, and who ought to be. Unfortunately, the president can't remove him because it would cause such a political storm. It would be a distraction. But when it's over, he and Sessions should be gone.
I agree. Hey, Joe, we're going to let you get back to your co-celebrants there at the Fort Lauderdale airport. That's where one of the hits went down, in Boston. The guy named Callahan.
Yes, I'm aware of that. There's actually a grave marker out here at runway 5.
Yeah, they whacked him, and then they drove the car to Miami, and he actually died in Miami, I guess. So that's why the trial took place in Miami-Dade rather than Broward. But we'll let you go, Joe, and thanks for mentioning my story today, and we'll be in touch, and keep working at this. You're doing great work on television. Thank you. All right. Thank you. That's Joe DiGenova. By the way, it's just a good day to get on the Chump line, 844-500-4242. That's the number for the Chump line. Press 2 for the Chump line. Leave your message, and we may or may not play it. The Kowloon's food has arrived. And Steve, did they leave any cigars for us since it's from Saugus?
No, they didn't. They didn't bring any cigars. Grace is really disappointed.
For after dinner, Come on. We need to, it's a Saugus tradition, isn't it? Cigars after dinner or before the lacrosse tournament. I'm Howie Carr.